Jamal Pierce didn't look like power when he pushed his mop bucket down the shining marble floors of Titan Core Solutions in downtown Chicago. At 50 years old, with a salt and pepper beard, faded blue coveralls, and scuffed work boots, he blended in the way the powerful never do. But Jamal didn't come to Titan Core to blend in. He came to burn it down and rebuild it. Apex, as the employees called it, wasn't his first battlefield. Jamal had pulled 4 other companies from the brink of collapse and turned them into success stories. But this time, he didn't want boardroom summaries or polished presentations. He wanted to see the sickness up close. The real stories. The truth from the people who lived it. So, he entered Titan Core undercover, rolling up his sleeves, armed with nothing but a flimsy badge and his sharp eyes. Within hours on his first day, Jamal saw the rot. Victor Kane, VP of Strategy, barked orders like a tyrant. He belittled Lena Brooks, a young analyst, publicly berating her until she fled the room, humiliated. Monica Vaughn, the head of HR, shredded a maintenance worker's request for overtime, snarling, "You're replaceable, Carla. Don't forget it." And Ethan Dale, a mid-level manager, laughed with his cronies about how easy it was to crush the low ranks and keep them too scared to fight back. Jamal kept his head down, scrubbing floors and listening. Every slight, every insult, every plan whispered behind closed doors. His heart boiled with rage, but his face remained calm. He wasn't here to scream. Not yet. He was here to watch them hang themselves with their own words. Every night, while the office emptied and the suits went home to their penthouses, Jamal stayed behind, mapping the decay. He heard Victor on a call late one evening bragging about plans to cut half the workforce to thin the herd. He found budget drafts that showed bloated executive bonuses and slashed raises for the workers keeping the company afloat. He caught Ethan mocking a nervous intern, Malik Johnson, calling him a joke and suggesting they fire him before he embarrassed the team further. But Jamal wasn't just cataloging crimes. He was building a case. He listened to the janitors, the receptionists, the delivery drivers. They poured out their frustrations over coffee breaks and late-night chats. Carla, the maintenance worker, shared her fear of losing her job while trying to support her daughter. Lena whispered through tears how Victor's daily abuse crushed her confidence. Malik confided that he almost quit after Ethan humiliated him in front of the entire department. Jamal's mind recorded it all. 3 weeks in, Jamal had the ammunition he needed. He knew the villains by name, their tactics by heart, and their weaknesses by habit. But he wanted their fall to sting, to leave a mark so deep they'd never forget it. On a Monday morning, end of fiscal quarter, the board gathered in the 20th floor glass-walled conference room, towering over the city. The 8 board members, polished and sharp, waited for the CEO they'd only known through distant emails. They expected a power broker, a man in an Armani suit with a private jet and a briefcase full of contracts. They didn't expect the janitor. At 8:59 a.m., the door flung open. Jamal entered, dressed in a black suit that fit like armor, crisp white shirt, and eyes full of fire. He carried a slim dossier thick with truth. The executives stared, confusion flickering across their faces. Vivian Holt, the chairwoman, stood and addressed the room. "Everyone, meet Jamal Pierce, our CEO." The silence was deafening. Victor's cocky grin shattered. Monica's phone slipped from her hand. Ethan's eyes darted, searching for escape. Jamal didn't waste a second. He slammed the dossier onto the table, his voice a low growl. "Good morning. For the past month, I've scrubbed your floors and hauled your trash. I've listened to your poison. And now I'm here to clean house." Victor tried to laugh it off. "You? The janitor?" Jamal's glare could have cracked concrete. "I'm the one saving this company while you've been busy burying it." The boardroom tensed, eyes wide. Jamal pointed directly at Victor. "Last week, you humiliated Lena Brooks in front of a client over a late report, then bragged about it at a steakhouse. She works harder than you ever have. You're a disgrace." Victor's face reddened, his lips trembling. Jamal's focus shifted to Monica. "You denied Carla Diaz her overtime request knowing full well she's a single mother. You called her a leech. She's worth 10 of you." Monica's hands clenched, eyes glued to the table. Then Jamal turned to Ethan, his voice icy. "I heard you call Malik Johnson garbage. I heard you laugh while tearing apart his work in front of others. You're not a leader. You're a coward." Ethan shrank in his seat, swallowing hard. Jamal's voice thundered through the room. This company bleeds talent because of you. You've built a culture of fear and cruelty. And I'm here to end it. He looked to Vivian and the board. I want Victor Kane, Monica Vaughn, and Ethan Dale terminated immediately. Effective now. The board nodded, their faces solemn. Security entered the room. Victor leapt to his feet, shouting protests. Monica's voice cracked as she pleaded for another chance. Ethan froze, white as a sheet. Jamal didn't flinch. You had your chance. You chose abuse. By noon, the news spread like wildfire through Titan Core. Employees gathered in clusters, stunned but hopeful. Lena wiped away tears, her shoulders straight for the first time in months. Carla hugged Jamal tightly, whispering, I thought no one saw us. Jamal met her gaze, steady. I see you. I always will. That afternoon, Jamal sat with the staff, face to face, no podium, no hierarchy. They shared their fears, their struggles, their stories. Jamal listened, scribbled notes, and promised no miracles, only work. This company isn't about me, he told them. It's about you. You're the heart of Titan Core. And we're going to rebuild this place the right way. Payroll audits began that same week. Executive bonuses slashed. Raises reinstated. Training programs redesigned, not corporate checklists, but real lessons in respect, equity, and leadership. Jamal moved through the halls like he always had, but now people met his eyes. They nodded. They smiled. Malik stopped him near the break room. Heard you're the boss who mops floors. Jamal grinned. Still do sometimes. Keeps me honest. The culture shifted. The fear broke. The pride returned. Jamal stood at his window one evening looking out at the Chicago skyline. He thought of his parents, the lessons they taught him about dignity and work. He thought of the boy he'd been, scrubbing floors for pocket change, told he'd never make it. He smiled. Not because he'd won, but because he'd made sure others could too. Respect isn't given. It's earned. And Jamal Pierce earned it, one mop stroke at a time. But even as Titan Core's halls began to hum with a new kind of energy, Jamal knew this was only the beginning. Real change took more than a shakeup, it took consistency, vigilance, and leadership that listened. In the weeks that followed, Jamal worked side by side with the HR team, restructuring hiring processes to focus on fairness and transparency. Exit interviews turned into rehire opportunities as Jamal personally called back several former employees who had left in frustration, inviting them to return to a workplace finally worthy of their talents. Malik, once on the verge of quitting, became the youngest lead project coordinator after Jamal recognized his potential and gave him room to shine. Lena, empowered by Jamal's support, pitched a bold new analytics strategy that was quickly greenlit, turning heads even at the corporate level. Carla's overtime was no longer a fight. Instead, she found herself asked for input on how to improve the working conditions for all maintenance staff. Jamal hosted open office hours twice a week, where any employee regardless of role could come speak to him directly. There were no sign-up sheets, no appointments. Just a door open, a seat available, and a leader willing to listen. Word spread fast that the new CEO wasn't sitting behind a wall of secretaries but walking the floors, grabbing coffee at the same machines, and shaking hands like an equal. Under Jamal's leadership, turnover plummeted. Productivity climbed. More importantly, trust began to rebuild. Employees no longer whispered about abuses, they spoke openly about ideas. What had once been a culture of fear slowly shifted into a culture of collaboration. The quarterly reports reflected the change, too. Profits stabilized. Customer satisfaction rose. Even the board, initially wary of Jamal's unconventional approach, began to see the wisdom behind his strategy. But Jamal didn't stop there. He brought in counselors to offer support for employees still dealing with the trauma of the old regime. Team-building retreats replaced mandatory overtime weekends. Training sessions focused on emotional intelligence and leadership ethics, not just spreadsheets and KPIs. One evening, as Jamal walked through the nearly empty office, he paused at the window once more. The skyline shimmered, alive with the pulse of the city. His reflection stared back at him, older, weathered, but unbowed. He thought of the battles still ahead, the voices still unheard in companies across the country, and he made himself a promise. This victory wasn't the end. It was a blueprint. Titan Core would stand as proof that respect, dignity, and real leadership could rebuild a broken empire. And as Jamal turned off the office lights and stepped into the night, he carried that fire with him, ready for the next fight, wherever it might be.